I restrict my attention strictly to Swedish models. That is the kind of exclusive attitude we are dealing with here. But honestly, that is tame compared to the truth. Back in their heyday, legends of the court treated the globe like their own private nightclub. They had access to an endless lineup of companions. In this video, we are pulling back the curtain on the real stats, from Wilt Chamberlain's legendary bachelor pad to Magic Johnson, who was reportedly putting up numbers in the bedroom that rivaled his assists on the court. If that sounds wild, just wait. You haven't heard the half of it yet. If you want to understand the true playground nature of the association, you have to examine the chaos of the 2000 Sydney Games. Kevin Garnett went on the All the Smoke show and kept it 100% real. He described the Olympic Village less as a dormitory and more as a free-for-all for adults. He insisted the entire event was pure chaos. And he wasn't referring to street gangs or fighting. He was highlighting the sheer volume of extracurricular activities happening behind closed doors. Picture a venue spanning 10 million feet where every single world-class athlete is on the prowl for a good time. But the absolute highlight of this debauchery was the infamous supply drop. KG shared a hilarious anecdote about a recreational area where an official walked in carrying a bin and poured roughly 10,000 prophylactics into a giant bowl. He claimed that before the staffer could even turn around, the supply vanished in 30 seconds flat. It was instantaneous. 1 minute the official is walking in, the next he reaches the display table. He barely realizes it is a bowl. The guy empties 10,000 items right in the center of the room. It was like a doorbuster sale, but strictly for athletes looking to score off the court. Actually, it became so unmanageable that the head of security, a man named Horace, had to evict the squad from the premises. They understood that having NBA superstars present was too distracting, which is polite code for saying they were causing a frenzy of intimacy. Consequently, they relocated the roster to a fortress of a hotel 90 minutes away. The message was clear. Security had to extract them immediately. They were basically told, you guys have to go. Now, they rarely let pro hoopers stay in the main village because the influence is too strong. Everyone is looking to get lucky. They essentially had to put the dream team in detention to prevent them from turning the Olympics into a 24/7 party. However, this is where the story turns personal. KG did not just enjoy the lifestyle, he weaponized it. Flashback to January 7th, 2013 at the Garden. The Boston crew was facing New York, and Garnett decided to drop a psychological nuke on Carmelo Anthony. Right. In the heat of the matchup, KG leans in and allegedly whispers that Melo's spouse tastes like a specific Honey Nut breakfast cereal. Anthony did not just get angry, he completely lost his composure. He shot a dismal 6 for 26 because his mind was absolutely frying in real time. The craziest part is that Anthony did not wait for the showers. He went hunting for Garnett, like he was looking for a street fight back in Baltimore. He tried to rush the Boston Tunnel and eventually camped out by their team transport. It required 5 officers, arena security, and his head coach just to stop Anthony from catching a felony charge that evening. Rumor has it that Garnett did not improvise that insult. The word on the street is that a well-connected promoter fed Kevin inside information about the state of Anthony's marriage and specific details regarding his wife's history with other athletes. When asked to address the confrontation later, Kevin reportedly implied, "He was competing for a championship, but I was attacking his mental health. If I know those intimate details, I have already won." While Garnett played mind games, other veterans ran full logistical operations just to manage their romantic rotations. This brings us to the guy who practically kept a dossier on every socialite in the league's orbit. It is one thing to party at the Olympics where everyone is game, but if you want the real scoop on NBA nightlife, we have to talk about the recycling culture. Gilbert Arenas, the unofficial king of spilling secrets, jumped on his microphone and dropped a statistic that should be mandatory reading for every rookie. He asserted that a staggering 70% of partners have already been passed around the association. 70% of these women are going to end up with another teammate eventually. So you need to get that through your skull. Consider the math. In a locker room of 10 guys, 7 are likely dating someone who has already seen the inside of a rival's house. According to Gil, in this business, there is no finding the one. You just take your turn in the lineup. To grasp the scale of this, you have to track the all-star roster of women who circulate through these teams like they are being swapped for draft capital. First up is Brittany Renner, the undisputed general manager of this scene. Before her public saga with PJ Washington, she was linked to heavy hitters like James Harden, Ben Simmons, and reportedly Jamal Murray, and she is just the tip of the iceberg. What about is Drea Michelle cementing her legacy as a Hall of Famer in the dating game? She has been active in the scene since the mid-2000s, originally tied to Gilbert Arenas, Deshaun Stevenson, and more recently linked to Jalen Green, a player young enough to be her son. And then, folks, we have to talk about the absolute chaos surrounding Larsa Pippen. This situation is beyond messy. She went from being Scottie Pippen's wife to dating Tristan Thompson, then jumped to Malik Beasley, which was a disaster given he was still married before landing on Marcus Jordan. Yes, she dated the son of Michael Jordan. Just picture that Thanksgiving dinner where your ex-husband's former teammate is now technically your stepfather. But apparently, that level of drama wasn't enough for Larsa. By the middle of 2024, she kicked Marcus to the curb, labeling the entire fling as humiliating and toxic, alleging he sent menacing texts after the breakup. And just like that, she has already scouted a new prospect. She is now with Jeff Kobe, a former Hooper, 19 years her junior. At this stage, Larsa isn't just part of the roster, she is basically the general manager of her own scouting department. And seriously, don't get me started on Kendall Jenner. She possesses a starting lineup that could legitimately sweep the Western Conference Finals. I am talking about a squad featuring Devin Booker, Ben Simmons, Blake Griffin, Kyle Kuzma, and Jordan Clarkson. If you are loving this breakdown, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives. Now, here is the part that actually terrifies me. The photo verification protocol. Gil dropped the bombshell that when a rookie strolls into the locker room grinning about a new girl, the vets immediately shut down the celebration. They force him to pull up her Instagram, and if that woman is a known entity, the veterans flag her as toxic assets. It is a mandatory vetting procedure to ensure a 19-year-old kid doesn't catch feelings for someone who has already been through half the team's depth chart. Oh, it gets even darker. Arenas discussed special work, which is player code for negotiating post-game companionship. It operates like a fantasy draft. The superstars and max contract guys get first dibs on the talent in the VIP section, while the bench warmers settle for the waiver wire picks. But as wild as this lifestyle sounds, it is a dangerous gamble because Gil also shared horror stories of women waiting for athletes to pass out just to snap compromising photos for blackmail. We are talking about pay me cash or this ends up on the blogs type of energy. To combat this, players allegedly maintain a master blacklist group chat. If a woman tries to pull a scheme on a baller in Miami, her face and stats are uploaded to the guys in LA and New York before her plane even touches the tarmac. As Arenas famously stated, in this league, you don't find a girlfriend, you just take your turn. It is a high stakes, high volume environment where athletes manage their romantic lives like corporate acquisitions. Before we get to the biggest player of all time, remember to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out. Now, while Gil and the modern crew are out here using spreadsheets to track their rotations, they are still competing for the silver medal. Because if you think a 70% turnover rate is wild, you are not prepared for the man who treated romance like a full-time profession. No jokes here. This brings us to the man, the myth, and the literal machine, Wilt Chamberlain. It is easy to assume today's stars are moving fast with their little lineups until you look into the archives on this guy. Wilt Chamberlain wasn't just playing the field, he was the CEO of an industrial-scale dating conglomerate. You know how most players handle their business in hotels or private sections? This man constructed a $1 million fortress in Bel Air called Ursa Major. Look at this image. This wasn't a house, it was a headquarters. Designed for volume, he built a legendary transition room which functioned like airport security, but strictly for women. Before a guest could even approach him, she had to spend time in this holding area, being vetted with premium cocktails and specific playlists. It was a literal intake facility to ensure the vibe was correct before she was granted access to the inner sanctum. And that inner sanctum, well, let's just say it was a set designed straight out of a 70s adult sci-fi film. Life magazine toured the spot in 1972 and discovered a room lined with floor-to-ceiling mirrors because, naturally, Wilt wanted to watch himself dominate from every conceivable angle. The centerpiece was a massive purple velvet-lined waterbed covered in real animal fur. It looked less like a master suite and more like a villain's lair, and for a man who claimed he slept with over 20,000 women, the decor fits the narrative. Speaking of those numbers, let's break down the math because it is absolutely mind-boggling. To hit 20,000 partners between age 15 and 55, Wilt had to average 2.3 women every single day for 40 years consecutively. No off days, no sick leave, just pure, unadulterated volume. But the most hilarious detail to me is that the man had a strict code of ethics. He claimed he never messed with married women, not out of morality, but because he didn't want the paperwork or the headache. He desired the efficiency of an assembly line, not the drama of a soap opera. And if you want to understand how global this operation became, just look at his strategy in 1972. After getting bored with American options, Wilt allegedly decided he was going to exclusively target Swedish Olympic high jumpers. Because when you are Wilt Chamberlain, why not? But wait, there is more. There is a legendary tale of a 10-day bender he went on in Hawaii where he reportedly racking up 23 conquests in a mere 10-day span. That staggering stat begs a massive question. Where are the heirs? I mean, if you put 20,000 points on the scoreboard, logic dictates you should have enough 7-foot descendants to populate an entire minor league division. Yet, the crib remains empty. Old school whispers suggest the Big Dipper managed a massive silence fund and a squad of professional cleaners who scrubbed any controversies before the morning papers printed. He was essentially running a phantom empire. Maximum production, zero paper trail, and absolutely no child support payments. You have to respect the hustle. He ran a seamless machine. But while Wilt was the prototype who drafted the blueprints, we need to pivot to the legend who took that flashy Showtime energy and ramped it up into a high-stakes gamble that didn't exactly end with a championship ring. If Wilt was running a factory line, Magic Johnson was operating a global conglomerate. While the Dipper hid in his mountain fortress like a classic movie villain, Magic was out in the Los Angeles spotlight, treating the metropolis like his own private VIP lounge. Now, before we dive deeper, smash that like button if you love these untold stories. I know it sounds like hyperbole, but the tempo this man maintained was borderline insanity. In his own memoirs, Johnson didn't bother feigning modesty. He bluntly stated he was entertaining as many ladies as humanly possible. We are talking about a superstar who allegedly juggled 60 dates a week. Let that sink in. That isn't a social calendar. That is an 18-hour shift without a lunch break. He even confessed in an interview to hosting 6 women in the room simultaneously, not spread out across the mansion, not down the corridor, but in the immediate vicinity. He admitted, I lived a bachelor's existence, a Hollywood fantasy, where plenty of attention came my way. That is the understatement of the century. In his book, My Life, Johnson details his escapades on the road before settling down. 40 to 50 admirers waiting at the hotel after every buzzer, scouting for talent. Most guys out here can't even get a text reply. Meanwhile, Magic was hosting a full-blown expo in his master. But can you really fault the guy? Magic wasn't just a jersey number. He was the undisputed monarch of Los Angeles. He would throw exclusive galas at his estate where you'd find A-list celebrities, top tier, pros, and the most stunning women on earth all under one roof. And anchoring it all was Magic, flashing. That billion-dollar grin. He made every other guy in attendance feel like they were stuck on the junior varsity team. Actually, the festivities became so intense that at a certain hour, if you hadn't paired up, you were literally escorted off the premises. Magic truly lived up to the moniker, and the man's nerves were absolute steel. He once confessed to a rendezvous with a random encounter in an office while a major corporate board meeting was taking place right through the drywall. He mentioned he was sweating bullets, not from the physical activity, but because he was staring at the handle, terrified a CEO would walk in and catch him in high definition. That is the kind of I do. What I please attitude that defined his reign. Magic understood that being the face of LA meant he held the keys to the 80s nightlife. These admirers would choose Magic over literally anyone else on the roster. If you were an opposing player flying into town, you took the L before tip-off because you weren't just battling him on the hardwood. You were up against a titan who had already conquered the city, the venues, and the scene before your charter flight even landed. But inevitably, that supersonic lifestyle slammed into a barrier of reinforced concrete. On November 7th, 1991, the planet stood still when Magic revealed his HIV diagnosis. It was the moon landing shocker for the NBA, nuking the Showtime dream in 5 minutes flat. It forced the world to acknowledge that the 60-a-week pace carries a tax that even a max contract cannot pay. And since we are breaking down Laker icons, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Now, let's talk about the Big Diesel. While Shaq was busy being everyone's beloved giant, he was quietly executing a covert operation to keep his private affairs invisible. This wasn't some average Joe sliding into direct messages. Shaq moved like a mob boss with a $400 million war chest and a Secret Service cleanup squad. Shaq eventually owned his mistakes, admitting, "I wasn't protecting my vows." He refused to blame her, taking full responsibility. But saying, "my bad," doesn't quite cover it. Picture being Shawnee, his wife, walking into your own mansion in Cleveland, only for the housekeeper to look you in the face and ask if you are the new help. Why? Because Shaq allegedly had another woman living there so comfortably that the staff naturally assumed she was on the payroll. That is a Hall of Fame level of disrespect. You are the spouse and you are getting treated like a job applicant in your own family room while the guest is likely upstairs, utilizing your monogrammed linens. But hold on, that isn't even the wildest detail in this saga. Apparently Shaq had ladies. Rumors were flying everywhere. But down in Miami, word on the street was that he maintained a hidden condo in South Beach purely for his romantic escapades. Think of it as a satellite headquarters for his nightlife. The only reason Shawnee caught him was because of a helpful hotel employee who messed up big time. It is actually a hilarious story. Shawnee walks into this luxury resort and the clerk, bless his soul, says, "Oh, Mrs. O'Neal, you left your scarf and gloves behind during your last visit." He then proceeds to hand her a bag of lingerie that definitely did not belong to her. Just imagine the silence when she pulled out that mystery scarf. That was the final buzzer. And to keep this circus running as long as he did, Shaq basically ran a Black Ops mission. We are talking about military-grade security details whose sole responsibility was traffic control for his side flings. These handlers would lock down entire hotel wings and coordinate the movement of women like they were guarding a head of state. They acted like the Secret Service for his dates, ensuring that no two guests ever crossed paths in the hallway or the elevator. It was a 24/7 logistical nightmare just to protect the Diesel's brand from his own lifestyle. Shaq thought he could power through the drama, but while he was busy hiding evidence, Dennis Rodman was doing the exact opposite. This man was a glitch in the NBA matrix. While other players were stressing over box scores, Dennis was out there living like he was in Grand Theft Auto. You have to hear about the Madonna offer. If you love these wild sports stories, make sure to like and subscribe right now. Rodman claims she literally offered him $20 million to conceive a child with her. She was dead serious, too. It was a straight business deal with no safety nets. Actually, there is one story that lives rent-free in my brain. Rodman is at a craps table in Vegas, down 20 grand, when his phone rings. It is Madonna, and she tells him the oven is ready, if you catch my drift. Get this, Dennis literally leaves his chips on the felt, jumps on a G5 private jet, flies all the way to New York City, handles his business, and flies immediately back to the same seat at the Vegas casino. If that isn't a power move, I don't know what is. And do not even get me started on the hot mic incident. He once accidentally broadcast an intimate session with 6 women to an entire party in the Hamptons because he forgot to turn his microphone off. The dude had the whole club listening to his bedroom play-by-play. He even took a trip to North Korea, where rumors suggest Kim Jong-un provided him with a personal entertainment squad. Rodman laid it all out in his book, Bad As I Want to Be. He bluntly stated, life in the NBA is 50% sex and 50% money. He wasn't lying. While most of these guys were scrambling to lie to their wives and hide in secret apartments, Lou Williams was playing chess in the year 3000. This legend didn't have a roster. He had a committed throuple. He was dating Ashley and Reese simultaneously, and the three of them hung out together publicly. It was the two-girlfriend dynamic that stunned everyone. What annoys you about me? People ask me what I am doing. Yeah, technically, Drake cemented this legend in pop culture with that famous lyric, "6-man like Lou Will, 2 girls and they get along." It was the ultimate badge of honor. The craziest part is that these 2 women never had any drama. At least, nothing that ever leaked to the press. I suppose if the price of a luxury lifestyle is sharing your boyfriend with another woman, that is a trade some are willing to make. These ladies were constantly spotted at games, looking happy and holding hands. The rest of the league was shook because Lou achieved the impossible: total transparency. Speaking of keeping it real, Steven Jackson is that unfiltered uncle who tells you exactly what you do not want to hear. He is the one who admitted to blowing $33,000 of a $35,000 check on women during a single weekend in Venezuela. Next year, where are you at? Venezuela. Venezuela. Some of the most stunning women I have ever seen. Marinos de Anzoátegui. Yeah, Venezuela. Had a blast out there. When I made 35 grand, I came home with 2,000. He has also been warning his son and the rookies that there is no romance in this game. He tells them point blank that these women view the NBA as a corporate ladder. They aren't looking for love, they are looking for a pay raise. Because Jackson was so tuned into the streets, he acted as the team's crisis manager. If a rookie got caught in an extortion scheme at a nightclub, Captain Jack used his connections to make the issue disappear. He watched too many teammates go broke from paternity suits and bad relationships. So he is on a mission to warn everyone that the glamorous life is a trap. This brings us to the last man standing, Lamar Odom. This is where the music stops. Because for him, this wasn't a game. It was a sickness. He has been open about his battles, admitting that his sex addiction was essentially the gateway to his drug abuse. He confessed to, imagine racking up a roster of over 2,000 women. And we aren't talking about dates. He was hiring professionals just to numb the pain. Before we get into the gritty details, make sure to subscribe for more uncut sports stories. The most shocking admission from his book was that he clocked in over 2,000 partners. He says he lost count, but admits the numbers definitely add up to a massive total. But the absolute rock bottom? The infamous Love Ranch disaster in Nevada. We are talking about a 3-day spiral at a legal brothel, where Lamar dropped $75,000 to live like a king. He was chasing a dangerous high, mixing herbal performance enhancers with heavy narcotics just to keep the engine running. It was a business transaction with 2 escorts, Ryder Cherry and Monica Monroe, on a 24-hour shift to keep him entertained. But when the party stopped, the scene was tragic. He was found face down, unresponsive, and foaming at the mouth. His body had suffered 12 strokes and 2 heart attacks. Doctors said he was practically shutting down on the spot because his system couldn't process the toxic cocktail. While the media was fixated on the Kardashian drama and the high-profile marriage, it was all smoke and mirrors for a pitch-black reality. One night he is living the 5-star life with Khloe, and by sunrise, he is crashing in a grimy motel with 3 strangers he picked up off the street. It was a double life that didn't just wreck his home. It landed him in a 4-day coma, knocking on death's door. Smash that like button if you want more legendary throwbacks. It is wild how the old school icons operated. You had Wilt running a literal industrial size assembly line and Magic Johnson hitting a pace of 60 a week like it was a 9-to-5 job. These guys were playing a different game. Today's rookies are sweating over a leaked DM or getting caught on a doorbell camera. But the OGs, they moved with diplomatic immunity, turning the league into a 24/7 VIP lounge. You honestly have to respect the hustle.